All right, I never know if this mic is too close. Well, anyway, so it's a new song here, and it's a song that I wrote for a jam. I was in a coffee house, playing in a coffee house with just me and a drummer. And you get to a job early, and you want to just start playing, like just testing your instrument out. I had a Fender Rhodes at the time, and so what I did was I was playing, just around, and in this happy notes with a G in the bass. And at the time, I didn't know why I was so happy, but I will explain that in just a second. But so I was playing this happy stuff, and really, what is a 5, a 6, and a 1, or 5, 6, and 8. And then, so that was like a G chord, and then from a G, I just went down to an E minor. It's all on letters. I discovered that chord by just fooling around anyway. And I just liked it. So I was like in the beginning, just to this coffee houses and up the roads, just going like this with a G bass. Then I was going to an E. And it sounded cool. And I said, well, I want to make a jam for tonight. We get, it's just a coffee house, like an open jam. So the jams can go on for a long time. So the idea that I always like to try to make was a little tiny song that could go over and over again. I used to call it a cycle song, and you just go over and over and over and over again, and it would it would be fun to jam over and over again. Oh, it would be simple enough that the musicians that were just kind of getting together, like open mic type jamming, could learn the 3 or 4 chords and go do those 3 or 4 chords over and over and over again, and that would be the jam. And so I was just doing this, and then the other thing is that I always like to make those 4 chords unusual. That's the cool thing. Or at least one of them. Like they might be mostly normal, but then you put one in there that's not. So this G to an E minor is a fairly common thing in music. And there, of course, there's an F in between, but I'm not usually, but anyway, it's this G, there is, if I invert that E minor to be really close to the E, I almost get that beginning. So it's part of it. There's that E minor, and it kind of is that, I always call that 50s style, but then, it's just it. It has a style. So I wrote this song. I might get ahead of myself here. In fact, go back to the chords here. And that is that this inversion of E was just close to it. And then, but going back to the melody, I was going. And then probably because of the rules that you can do with an E minor, you have the 2, you have the 4, you have the 6, you have the 7, all available to you. So why not use them, especially in melody notes? And there's that 2 sitting there. And I went, with the E. Remember I was going G bass and then into an E bass. Now this time we go G and then to an E F sharp, which is legal in the minor because it is an E minor. And I just went 2 minor third 4, 2 minor third 4, 1 2 minor third 4. Right, so I went, wait a minute, whoa! I just hit the bar thingy wangy doodles, and it just it like tripped out into a new spectrum of chordal visual ding dongs. In other words, the video just went wild on my screen. All right, so the CanCan Express themes. Oh, wait, I'm not even that far yet. Well, that's the name of the song that we're doing here, the new song. And it started with G minor, G, 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 and then E minor. And here is a G, E minor, G, E minor. And then it starts, and it's G6. Now don't pay attention as all my songs at the beginning to the bottom part of it. Just talk with the top part, because I want you to look at the chord and the top. This is going to be a neat part that we're going to add later, but in the left hand, you're just going to play octave, 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 whatever letter it is up here. So like if it turns to this next letter, which is E, it happens to be an E minor 7. Let's take a look at it. E minor 7, 2, right? 4. All legal suite minor additions to a minor chord. 2, 4, 7. So that's the melody so far. And then I went to the odd chord. Now, how I came this was because of the common note A, and it's almost like a how do I say it? Wait, I'm going to go to the big screen view. The big view. We're going to go to the big view here. I know you can't see me scrolling around here, but there it is, the big view. I'm going to the next page because I'm going to get to here. This is where I'm trying to get to. So I went to F eventually after going to G and then E minor and then G minor, and then I went to F. But I went farther with the F. I went to F. And then I went to that famous, not that famous, but I like it so much, one whole step down from the, remember, try any chromatic neighbor that you find is a really cool thing just to see all those pictures. I like one whole step down from the letter name of the left hand in my right hand guitar. So in other words, if I'm in F sharp, I want one whole step down from G sharp chord to the E chord. So let's go down to the F. F, what would be a whole step down from that would be to E flat. So I'm on an E flat chord with the F. So that's my odd chord. That's my odd chord in this little short jam that I'm making in this coffee house. G, I got a G, then E. And by the way, I remember in that coffee house, and we did a lot of jamming just on G to E. G, E, minor, I'm sorry, E minor. Or Studio E, talking about E minor. That's right. So E minor, okay, G, E minor, many times in this coffee house playing this G and the E minor, and having that 6, that happy 6 added onto the G made it even more interesting than the E minor 7 with the additions, you know what I mean? It's all this kind of stuff. It's just, and by the way, I guess I was going to go to the additions with the G. I could use the 2. I could use the 7 or the major 7, and in the song here, it's going to be the 7. And you'll see that it sounds really weird when I play it here, close together, squished together, but no 4. No 4. No 4 in the G6. So it's a 2 and a 7. But you'll see the 7. It's kind of a jazz in part of it. But anyways, so we're into this F going down a whole step. I'm sorry to blast in that whole section. And then this is the part that this is the next chord. So I started with the G, then E minor, the G, and then I went to it's the cool chord. Now, how did I get there? It must have been because it was so close. It was E, G, B when I was doing it, and then I probably just slipped down and I went up. I used to have a Rhodes in my room, and the cool thing about it was on the floor, and the cool thing was I could sit like Indian style and just play chords and just squish into the keyboards, and a lot of times you get that accident, I guess you could say, or that feel into, that, and it worked. It was a great sound. So I had this beautiful E flat. So here we go, the G to the E minor, the G to the E minor, and then it sounds weirder up there than it does down here from the G, but I just went from the E minor and then I just slid right into and then for some reason I then kept it all simple and I went to A minor 7, and then I did a jazz thing. It's a sharp, it's a jazz thing, and then a no chord to finish it. So that was the loop, or that was the circle. And so I know these last 2 chords I'm doing so quick. So it's really an E flat major 7 with an F bass. And then I'm doubling right at the bottom of it. a squish sound. And then I'm actually playing from that position, one inversion. Then I just drop my fourth finger in this case, which is on the fifth, and it becomes the third from the F bass. It's actually a fourth from the F bass, but it's the fifth of the chord we're talking about, E flat major 7 with an F bass, and I drop it 1, and it just becomes an F6, 7, 2. But I don't really write that in here because it happens so fast with just one eighth note. And then stays right on the E flat major 7 with an F bass throughout this whole part. And then it goes to A flat minor 7 with a 2, okay? And that just rotates right around with the thumb. Look at the thumb on the B and the C there. And it just goes back and forth. But keeping the octave, I could do an octave just like this, right? But why not put in the note when I have it here, and it kind of hit there, and then it just hits great. So I have an A minor 7, 2, and then 2 is in the melody, and then this crazy chord was a plus 5 off of an E flat. It is an E flat 7 plus 9. Here's a E flat 7 plus. But then it's got a plus 5 instead of a 5. It's got a plus 5. And I also put a 6 in there. It's almost a squish chord. But it's cool because it's just a yeah. And then it completely from all this crush of a chord to a no chord. D. Completely to a note. From all these thickness of a fraction chord of an E flat major 7, and then an A minor 7 2, and then a squish of an E flat 7 plus 5 plus 9, D, nothing. And then I completely add a section that has nothing to do with what I was just cycling around in the verse. In the chorus, and this, a lot of people do this with songs, and I love it. It's like they've made up a little section here. And then a long time later, they make another little section here, and another section here, and a little bit, and then they kind of stick them together. And those stuck together things make a song. That is what it's all about. Remembering those little tiny riffs and little tiny cool things, and then sticking them together and making a song, which is essentially what I did. Remember when I started, just went like this in the coffee house there, and then G, D minor 7. And then I went to that E flat major 7 with an F bass, an A minor 7 with an A minor 7 2, and then that crushed chord all together or spread out would be like, it would be an E flat 7 plus 5 to a D, and then where do I go? To a chorus, because I finished the verse. I go up a half step. What? I go to another part of something that I had made a long time ago. And it was from E flat major, an E flat major chord, major 7 chord with an F sharp bass. And it sunk down to that. If you move that middle note, like I said, like you were moving with it. Remember when I had an E flat major 7 and I just moved it down by one finger there? It became like a 7-2-6. I can do it chromatically up. Sorry, E flat E major 7 with an F sharp bass. Move that one note down and it becomes an an F sharp 7. It becomes not a fraction chord but a regular chord. It becomes an E. Oh, I have to move a page here. It becomes an E. It becomes an F sharp. It becomes an F sharp 7 chord with a 2 in it and a 6 in it. It's really cool. Here's a 2. Here's a 6. By just moving one finger. And I've done this in other songs where it moves anywhere. I always say, you find something, move it to the chromatic neighbor and find it. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm moving that one finger, magically making 2 chords by moving one finger. And that's cool. That's really cool. And so that's what I'm doing in this major, I call it the major bridge part, but really what it is, the major Castle March part, major bridge part, but it really is not a bridge. It's really a chorus. And in the chorus is E major 7 to that F sharp 7, and then E major 7 to that F sharp 7, and then I go from that E major 7, I go to a pure E major 7, but then I use common tone. What could be with this note of this D sharp here? Because remember, it was, look at the top note, it's all common tone D sharp, common tone D sharp, by moving that one finger. So if I just make an E major 7, which is the major 7 of E, and put a 2 in there, what else could it be? Well, right next to it is the note itself, D sharp. But this, in this case, I made an E flat minor by just moving. How do I figure that out? By just moving around notes. Didn't even know at the time I was writing it. Didn't know what it was, knew what it looked like after a while because I accidentally hit it, and I'm like, oh, I gotta remember that. What is that? What is that? What is it? Finding hours later, remembering it, and hopefully remembering it the next day and the next day and the next day. That's important too. And then recording it, that was little bits. Anyways, that was a little bit. This was a little bit. This E major 7 with an F sharp bass to an F sharp, to E major 7 with a bass to an F sharp, then to an E major 7 to an E flat minor 7 to an E flat minor 7 to an F minor 7. That part was in my mind after I was coming out for some reason of a song part of A minor 7. D, B. Those are the chords to this part. Here it is, the melody. The underlying chords making an E major 7. There's a little rhythmic foaming to the E major 7. Under notes, just making rhythmic things, just like you'd be picking on a guitar, with holding a melody note, same thing. Now I'm down on the E flat minor 7. I'm E minor 7, so I'm just playing with some notes of E flat minor 7 too. And then I'm going to go to an E major 7, and what do I got in E major 7? I've got an F sharp, a B, and a D sharp. All these notes are all within the E major 7 right now. E, F sharp is the 2, E is the main letter, and D sharp is a major 7, and then now I'm in the minor 7 of the E flat minor 7. So what's another note that I can go to? A minor 3rd, right? I can use it in the melody because it's all legal sweet notes. I'm back to E major 7. Even though it looks all thick, look at all it is just octaving. I'm just playing with this 2 and the 3 and the 2 and 3 of E. It looks so complicated because all those sharp notes. It's not if you know your E stuff, mainly your E major street, and all the notes are possible in there, all throughout the whole thing. And let's separate some of the special ones that we want, and we're right in there. And I'm just octaving, octave. So I always say that 4-note look in the right hand is so important to always have, because when you have that 4-note look in your right hand, then you see better. You see the full picture. You can always go to a 3-note, but if you have that 4-note inversion look, where you actually have to look what is the next note and learn every letter of every chord, that's really cool. You got to learn every letter of every chord. Got to. Important. Learn every letter of every chord. Important. Major, minor, and all the diminishing, whatever, not just augmented chords, all the numbers and all the stuff like that. Yes. So anyway, so we're going to E major 7, E flat minor 7, and then I have just like kind of a twirl around, I guess you call it. A twirl around. It's just kind of a turnaround time. In this case, I'm using the E major 7 as my top chord. So I'm going to keep the E major 7 idea of what I can use as additions. I can use a 2, I can use a 6, but in this case, I'm just going to go 2, 3, 5, 2, 3, 3, 5. And then if I move that up to F sharp, if I start at E major 7, I'm into the 2, and then if I move up to the fraction of it, I'm going to keep the same notes. I'm just going to expand on this. I'm expanding on this E major 7. Remember that E major 7 down to in the very beginning? I'm just inverting it and playing with it. I have to follow the rules of what is actually at that time, 50% of music in the measure. I have to be there with, if it changes, if a chord changes, I have to be on those notes. I have to be on those legal sweep notes. I cannot be on the other ones. I have to be in the new ones. Each chord, I have to go quick. And, but you can find so many great melodies. Look at that great expansion note, right? Just the expansion of just an octave from the whole thing of E major 7 with an F sharp bass. And I'm going to go down to F sharp 7 2 and do a little, 3 to 4 twirl there. And then I'm going to just crawl down a broken chord of E major 7 and E flat minor 7 4. So I'm going from E major 7 to very, very close. It's so easy to move. I'm just moving. It's right there, y'all. It's right there. How did I find it? Just fooling around the roads, found it. Didn't know what I found, but I knew it sounded cool, so I remembered that. And I did. And I kept it going. And then I expanded it. But now I'm taking an inversion. 4 note, 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4, 4 note, right hand guitar part. By fooling and jamming, I found the notes that I wanted to use. I found the notes. I found the inversions. I used the rules that I made myself, and then by using those rules and what I can use in a major and what I can use in a minor, those rules, then I remembered them and I learned them for every single chord, all 12 of each major and each minor, all the twos, mainly is using as the major street of whatever street. In this case, I'm on E flat with an F sharp bass, but it's part of E. Anyway, so, and then when I'm in E flat minor, I have all these notes I can do, and all of them I'm trying to use as many as I can because it's great. And then I'm expanding on it. It's F sharp. It's E major 7 with F sharp bass, so that F sharp 7, F sharp 7 2, and then it just expansion and jamming. It's like and the other thing I do, I like start melodically. I start like on the 2 to the 2 of the E, and then I go to the 4 of the E flat, and then I do that 2 3 5, kind of in a reminiscence of the rhythmic pattern. Yes, that's true. That's the reason I did it at the beginning. Here it is again. Except I start on E, and then I move it to the E major 7. Those are the doodle-deedle-deedles of those 2 chords. I'm going to do them. So I come from a beautiful chorus. Beautiful chorus. It starts E major 7 to F sharp 7. It just keeps on that E major 7 with an F sharp bass to an F sharp 7, E major 7 with an F sharp bass, F sharp 7, then E major 7 2, E flat minor 7 2 4, E major 7 2 4, and then after jamming and expanding on that, and that's E major 7. And then with keeping the same thing with E major 7 and putting an F sharp back on the fractioning it to an F sharp bass, doing the same time, that is the chorus.